taking action for you this morning on TV 20 Detroit starts right now.
So down to the Big Apple. This is your weekly entertainment magazine with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.
This whole show is about inspirational and motivational, especially I've got men on the show that really do define what we're doing as men to make a difference on this planet. And Dr. Eddie Conner Jr., he's of international acclaim. He is a motivational speaker, a life coach. He is a man that the spirit guides every move that he makes. Also joining us on the show, and I want to give him the proper introduction. He's calling actually from Florida. Jerry Roebuck is a retired educator and entrepreneur. He worked in the Harlem community for over 40 years, including at the New York Public Library and every Harlem branch to counseling, soon to be released inmates at New York State's Harlem Halfway House, to working at the New York City Board of Education as a teacher in 3 different school districts. That also included over a decade's stint at the famous Boys and Girls Choir of Harlem School. And Mr. Roebuck also was instrumental in the Black Expo, which we know, if you're seasoned enough, they did it for black folks all over the country and made a lot of people wealthy. Ladies and gentlemen, please, it is our honor on the Greg Dunmore Vibe to have Mr. Jerry Roebuck calling from sunny Florida. Jerry, how are you doing?
Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
And, you know, I want you to say hi to Dr. Conner, who is co-hosting. He's one of our awesome gentlemen who, he roots out of Detroit, but his roots actually extend all over this planet as an awesome, inspirational speaker. So please, Mr. Jerry Roebuck, say hi to Dr. Eddie Conner. I introduce you two gentlemen to each other.
Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Dr. Conner.
Jerry Roebuck on the show is because he's got something. He has 2 movements. And, Jerry, I want you to explain to the audience. Let's go movement number 1. And I always say it's not about the moment. It's about the movement. And Jerry is about a movement by the name of Let Them Read, Let Them Teach. Jerry, explain to this audience about Let Them Read, Let Them Teach.
Well, unfortunately, Greg and Dr. Conner, your guest, you know, this is a very difficult time for us in this country. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know where the political winds are blowing with the upcoming election, but it's affecting us as African Americans, as black people in this country. As in the last election 2 years ago, they used critical race theory, which we know doesn't exist. It's a law school class taught to students studying to become lawyers. It's not taught in K through 12 schools. They propagated this as an issue and then put it out there to deceive people, ran on it, and now what they're doing here in the state of Florida, where I'm at, and it's spreading around the country, is they're using this lie as a way of banning and taking out books about black people, black subjects, black writers out of the schools completely, even so bad that the textbook companies that are writing books and publishing books for the schools to buy, the school systems, the state school systems, they're making them rewrite the books. So as an example, very close to you there in Detroit, Rosa Parks, when they talk about Rosa Parks, she just got on the bus one day and she sat down. Someone asked her to move, had nothing to do with her race. She just said she was tired because she didn't want to move, and she was arrested. That's the way they are rewriting even the textbooks. But more blatant, they are going into the school libraries, taking all the books out written by black authors or having to do with a black subject, a black biography. It is insane. Insane to the point that even picture books about Dr. King being removed, picture books about Jackie Robinson being removed, picture books about Jesse Owens, a black Olympian, being removed.
Well, now the question is, Jerry, the question is, what is the hidden agenda? I mean, I realize that they're doing something that is obviously incorrect, and it's so obvious that it may not be obvious. Sometimes the most obvious things are not obvious, like when you lose something and it's in your front pocket. So let us know, what is the hidden agenda?
It's twofold. Number one, as I mentioned a little earlier, they used it to run on because they test things, whether it's something in the LGBT community, or is it crime? Is it global warming? Is that a hoax? They put all these things out there. They won some governorships and some other things on this issue. So they put up the trial balloon. Now we have DeSantis running for president. He's putting it out there. Trump has even said the most dangerous issue facing, at one of his Nazi rallies, that to his audience, is this critical race theory.
So critical race theory is a framework. It's a theoretical framework that was developed in the 1980s by legal scholars to help us understand how it is that structural and racial disparities endure in our society, and how that is actually engendered in some of our laws and policies. And so the idea was to get us to think systemically, as opposed to just thinking that racism manifests by individuals just mistreating each other, that there are actual structures in our society that create these different kinds of racial gaps and racial disparities economically, in terms of housing, in terms of education. And so that's what they do, is that they actually show us how the law, how laws that are supposed to be neutral actually can promulgate or support racial disparities.
I'm your host, Tim Hall.
And so basically what critical theory does is it takes the financial aspects of the rich and poor from Marx's work, like in his Communist Manifesto with Engels, and it applies that same idea to other spheres. And so you'll see this oppressor idea throughout culture, critical theorists would say. So when it comes to critical race theory, what you would see is they'll contend that you have kind of the oppressors and the oppressed, right? Or a lot of times like the whites and then the dark skinned. That will come up, though it doesn't necessarily have to refer to white skin, but I'm just saying white skin really represents a power, an oppressor.
Pulse of a new generation. Pulse Beat.
If you like what we're doing, please tell a friend. Or if you want to see what we've done again, go to PulseBeatGlobal.com. That's PulseBeatGlobal.com. You can also go to our PulseBeat TV YouTube channel, and you can revisit what we're doing. And once again, you can tell everybody that we're doing something that is so exciting that they wouldn't want to miss it. Remember, PulseBeatGlobal.com or the YouTube channel, PulseBeat TV. Thanks for telling the world about us.
Pulse of a new generation. Pulse Beat.
I think what we're talking about today, though, is some contestation and conflict over how you teach about race, racial hierarchies, critically, racism in schools and society. And so the two are being conflated.
So today, Dr. Eddie Connor Jr., co-host and noted all over the world as a life coach and motivational speaker, among all the other things that he does, an acclaimed author. And calling in from Florida, we have Mr. Jerry Roebuck, who has a passion for this movement, which is, let them read, let them teach. And we're learning that there is a hideous plan to ban books, and banning books by acclaimed black people. We've got to all come together, because the unity in the community now must be about the power that comes when we say that H word and then no.
So they've already put this out there. So we know that's one thing. The other part of it is it's a way to whitewash history as people are becoming conscious, as the younger generation is out here saying, whether it's the Black Lives Matter movement, or young people on TikTok talking about the injustices done to this country, to us as black people. They don't want that, and they definitely don't want it discussed in schools. They don't want the information available. So they are just going full throttle and removing all of the books from school so kids have no knowledge, and that's one of the major reasons I started Let Them Read, Let Them Teach. Please, I have a website, just went live, Let Them Read, LetThemTeach.com. It's Let Them Read, LetThemTeach.com, and I'm going to be buying books to Black History books and distributing them along with backpacks in the fall to students to hopefully throughout the whole state of Florida for free as a way to get the books in their hand. And it's so bad in this state that in some of the counties, if you as a parent bought the autobiography of Malcolm X or the 1619 Project or Before the Mayflower for your even high school student to read, your child, they can't go into the school building with the book. The book will be taken from them. So this is fascism with us as African Americans being targeted. And we've got to fight back and do something about it. Our ancestors wouldn't stand for it. We know that's how we fought for our rights to learn how to read. We created our own HBCUs. We didn't sit around. We got busy, and I'm trying to get busy to do something as best I can to fight back about this.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yes,
and we're applauding what you're doing because you're certainly signaling what may be to come, not just in Florida, but certainly it's going to become a national crisis. And as Dr. Connor knows, as an author, and I should also let you know that he also is part of a movement by the name of Boys to Books.
Without a doubt. When you think about literacy and the whole aspect, I love the whole movement. Let them read, let them teach. Simply because readers are leaders, and when we think about prisons being built based on second and third grade reading scores, they mentioned that 80% of those who are incarcerated are functionally illiterate. And so how important do you think, especially putting these types of books into the hands of young black men who oftentimes, as they say, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book.
Which is a lie. Which is a lie.
Right.
Yes.
That we can unearth it to really speak truth to power for the next generation, especially as you think about the millennials, you think about the Gen Zs. How important is it with that?
Well, it's extremely important now. And if I can, I want to just give the audience a little bit of history. Of course, we know that slaves were not allowed to read. We know that those who attempted to teach a slave to read or bought a slave a book, if you were a white person in many states, you would be put in jail. You would be whipped. The slave could even be killed. So we can go back to that history. Another thing that people, though, don't know is that even J. Edgar Hoover, who we know had a deep hatred for black people, in the COINTELPRO movement, another thing that he did was try to put black bookstores out of business by doing surveillance, harassing them, having the banks close down their bank account, having FBI agents go to the book publishers and say, don't sell books to to the black bookstores. He tried to put any black publishers out of business by saying that they were communists, they were spreading communism. So we can just look at our history in this country and see how offensive this is, a basic right to read and have knowledge of self, that here we are in 2023, and these evil, wicked people in parts of this country are attempting, we're not going to let them do it, attempting to do this to them again, to us. And what I say is, as I was mentioning I want to answer your question, giving a book to a young person where they could see images of people who look like them, that are a doctor, that are an attorney, that are a business person, that are a teacher, can save their life. It can change their life. And they don't need to be in the school system where under white supremacy, the only images of success are people that they cannot identify with because it's all stories about white people. White people invented everything. White people created everything. White people build everything. The whole history from the beginning of time is just white people, and your ancestors were enslaved. They picked cotton. You were set free. You never did anything. You never created everything and anything. You didn't invent anything. You didn't participate in any wars. You didn't do anything, basically. And we can't let that be the story that ends up getting told, and especially for the young people that are out here.
Pulse of a new generation. Pulse Beat.
What's happening in entertainment? with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
It's not the good vibe, it's the great vibe, because I have co-hosting the show today Dr. Eddie Connor Jr. and calling in from Florida, Jerry Roebuck, who has an awesome program, Let Them Read, Let Them Teach. Your question.
My comment is basically, in Florida, this situation with the school critical race theory, it's not an issue. Black people, if these courses or these books are not taught in school, black people, you know, you have enough money, you can order these books online, Amazon, books like the Destruction of Black Civilization. They came before Columbus. The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. You can order this online and learn and read about it. Don't worry about and think about, because the school system in Florida, they don't have these books. Stop always begging and complaining about them taking something out of school. Black people, you can read and learn about this stuff. They have it at the libraries. I learned about the slave trade. Is a book by called The Slave Trade by Hugh Thomas. It's like 300 pages. Read it at the library. Most of the things I've learned about African history and Black history, I learned in checking out books at the library.
Yeah, and I think that's important. You know what, Jim, you know what? I mean, I'm saying, David, yeah, that's important, because you're really talking about, it's one thing to go to the gym. We know that it is important to get the body. Mm-hmm. But when you go to the library, you get another sort of workout. And when we say knowledge is power, then we know that the library is a place that is empowering. Now, I am not wanting to end this conversation with you, David, but I've got to move on. Thank you so much for calling in. We've only got we've just got a couple of minutes.
Can I respond to what he said?
Yes, you can, certainly.
A lot of people in Florida, unfortunately, all people, black people, don't make a lot of money. I'm not from Florida. I retired. I live here part of the year. I've been down here almost 10 years. But a lot of our people, especially single moms, they don't have money to go on Amazon and buy books for $16, $20 a piece, brother. They just don't. That's one thing. Number two, as a taxpayer in the state of Florida, as a person who pays a lot of property taxes, which is supposed to go to the schools, and I have a big high school not far from me, it hurts me that I'm paying almost $5,000 a year in property taxes, most of it going for education, and those kids can't go into that school building and get books about people who look like them. It's wrong, and we have to do something about it. And lastly, as far as public libraries, in the state of Florida, they are now switched up now that they got the schools, and they're attacking the public libraries here in the state. And there was an article written by one of the Florida state Republican legislatures where the library had a section of books they pulled from the shelf to say, these are banned books, come and read them. They threatened to cut the funding to all the libraries in that county.
Wow.
And we cannot stand by, and we have to do something like this. So I want to say again to your listeners, please go to the website. There's a great video I have up here that explains everything. You could also see a confrontation when I went and picketed DeSantis about this book banning, what happened. Go to letthemread.letthemteach.com.
African American history is littered with similar stories of slaves being killed, maimed, and beat for learning how to read. Anti-literacy laws in the South even called for the imprisonment or the beating of whites who aided slaves in attempting to read. We can win this fight. I have been on the front lines of many fights and movements. My father worked with and raised money for Dr. Martin Luther King and the SCLC in the fight for civil rights. I have personally picketed Ron DeSantis at one of his Republican rallies, attacking him for book banning and risking my own safety in a mob of racists and fascists.
Stop! Yes, I do. I live here. And I don't like a racist coming here to talk. He's a racist and a bully, and he's banning books. Tell him to stop banning books. Tell him to go to the villages and arrest the people there for voter fraud. I'm not bothering nobody. It's a free country. I don't have a big mouth. No, get out of here. First, you want to start? You want to start, Fatso? You want to start with me, mother? I'll put you in a wheelchair. Yeah, you be straight out of then get the out of here. I live here. I live here. No. Shut up. Hold your sign up and don't bother people. Just hold your sign. Hold your sign up and don't bother people. Go away. I got it too. No, I got it too. I got it too. I got it too. Okay, we'll talk. I got it too. Talk.
Sure. I'm part of an organization, also a nonprofit, Black Spirit Group. We're a number of black men, businessmen, mostly retired from around the country, and we want to begin to work to bring up a lot of younger entrepreneurs with our organization and guide them in the right direction. Fortunately, some things I did in my entrepreneurial life, I was successful, but I wish I had some mentors, black mentors along the way. I did eventually get help from Earl Graves, Percy Sutton. I know you know these names,
yes.
But a lot of young people who are just trying to get a business started, they don't know where to go. So I'm working with a number of black men around the country. We're trying to get this organization funded through some corporations that say they want to do the right thing. And, I'd love to come back on the show and talk about that issue.
Once again, I applaud you for the movement. Let them read, let them teach, and also what you're doing with black men and each one teach one, reach one, and you're giving back. And this whole show is about inspirational and motivational, especially I've got men on the show that really do define what we're doing as men to make a difference on this planet. And I think that, Jerry, you epitomize the best of who we are by everything you've done in a stellar career that is still ongoing. I've only got literally about 15 seconds for you to say something that God is telling you right now to tell to this audience in about 15 seconds.
I couldn't say it any better than stay woke.
Stay woke. That's what it's all about, staying woke.
That's what it's about.
And we are blessed to know that your passion is making a difference on this planet. You're listening to the Greg Dunmore Vibe, and I've got special co-host Dr. Eddie Connor Jr. Stay tuned. It's not about the best is yet to come. The best is already here.
Come on now.
Pulse of a new generation. Pulse Beat.
I'm Naheem Hines. I support the Muscular Dystrophy Association because they help my mom and kids like Ethan.
Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before.
Join us and learn more at mda.org today.
What's happening in entertainment with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
Every time I hear this song, which is music ministry at its very best, it reminds me of the spiritual uplift that music gives.
For your miracle, your breakthrough right now is getting ready to come. Can I get a witness? You're next in line. You have kept the faith. Today is your day.
That is your next in line for a miracle.
She's got the voice of 1,000 warrior angels, and she cannot be brought to a soundbite of just beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, ram, ham, hog, dog.
I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, chicken, turkeys, rat, you name it! God name it!
Shirley Caesar is a powerhouse and is anointed for such a time as this. And from the time I've been knee-high to a duck to now, she's still on and popping and really giving us the power of God in song.
Yes, that is so true. Yeah. And you know, when you hear music, and this is Black Music Month, and I know that we're in a time where music has gone through a lot of twists and turns, and there is something very challenging, I think, as a community, that we have to deal with lyrics that don't inspire, but lyrics that actually destroy. And I just don't know what we're going to do to encourage, especially young people, to embrace music that is going to be much more medicinal in terms of their well-being and mental health than some of the music that is being played now. And I'm not about censorship, but I am about being sensitive to artists that are really trying to heal the community through their lyrics and not hurt us, whether they know they're doing that or not.
Totally right. Yeah, and many of the artists have been bought out to perpetuate violence and negativity and crime. And think about this. We are the only race that perpetuates violence and crime and death and decay and the destruction of our women in the music. There's no other race that does that. Exactly. We're the only ones that produce self-genocide through a beat and a melody.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know what the problem is. I don't know why we as such a great people don't see. It's like, if I had a diet of just Twinkies, and I like Twinkies, but a diet of only Twinkies would be suicidal. And I don't know why we don't understand that the intake of music that is so questionable and really negative, not to understand the relationship of the input being a result of so much negative output, especially impressionable young minds. And I'm not talking about censorship, I'm talking about responsibility.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, when you think about nothing but shoot 'em up, bang, bang, twerking and working and all this other stuff, it is the whole aspect that the music mirrors the climate of the circumstance of what it is that we are experiencing.
Yes.
And when we begin to remedy the climate of the circumstance, I think also the music will change. And then also when we understand that we don't have to go out to other people for a contract to sell ourselves out, but actually we can invest and imbibe 100% ownership and push our product and really make it great. What if you think about all these entertainers and artists came together to develop their own label?
Yes.
I can't wait till Saturday, August the 5th. It is the Access Identity Conference that's taking place in the city of Detroit at Focus Hope, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's called the Access Identity Conference. Ideas, Impact, Influence, Connecting Kingdom and Community, Merging Ministry in the Marketplace. Talking about mental health, financial development, financial literacy, managing your money and your mentality, work-life balance, relationships, purpose, identity, just development. And you can go right now, accessidentity.org, get registered, and put in the code ACCESS at checkout, and you get $50 off of registration. Listen, we got amazing speakers coming. We got Hill Harper, who's going to be a speaker. Wow. We have Tasha Page Lockhart. We have who's an amazing singer. We have Dr. Rose Moten, Kelly Cruz. We have Gail Perry Mason. We have Pastor Robert Bolden. We have Dr. Sabrina Jackson. We also have Mr. Kenneth Donaldson. So we got some amazing speakers who are going to just be giving you strategy, structure, solutions on how to take your vision to the next level.
And then this will take place in
Saturday, August the 5th at Focus Hope. And it's the colors of the Access Identity Conference are matching your jacket. So you know you got to be there.
Okay, well, I'm going to certainly be there.
In this whole world, you know, there are millions of boys and girls.
Pulse of a new generation.